Yeah, you'll hear that a little, but
This is a classy joint.
Hey, we try. I had these coasters before that were wood, and they were much classier, but they stuck to the drink, and then they would fall.
And then it would fall off and be like... Blah, blah,
And it would,
blah, 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 blah.
yeah, it's like a storm. So we got rid of those. We're just talking about video games and, stuff. But you're talking about Hearthstone because I'm excited to talk about that.
Cool.
Again? Well,
We've
because
already talked about it.
Well, because I feel like it's been around for a little bit. It's been out for how long?
Almost a year.
Yeah, okay. And now it's like...
Since it came out of beta, it's been like almost a year and a half if you count beta.
Oh, yeah,
Which
yeah.
I didn't play that far back, but...
I don't think I did either. When did I think I just... When it got released on Steam, I got it like day one, too. Well, we're starting the podcast, by the way.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hi.
That's a guy, and his name is Dan Hart.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
I am Dan Hart.
You are. Hey, we both have low voices. I just realized.
We do. This is going to be a very bass-heavy podcast.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Carl Sordillo.
Hello, and I'm Barry White.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Dan Hart. Dan and I met through the comedy mashup thingamajiggy. I always forget the name
Yes,
of it.
the Sketchfest mashup.
Yeah. And that was really fun. I got to play Nicolas Cage.
You did, and you got to play Jersey J. Hey.
Oh, Jersey J, my favorite one. People like that one the most. I was basically a New Jersey guy, but like over the top.
Yeah, it was a man beauty pageant, and he was Mr. New Jersey, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Mr. New Jersey. Oh, yeah."
Oh, jeez. And my favorite part was that we were just like kind of fucking around with rehearsal, and you laughed at something with me doing Jersey, and I was like, oh, that guy's probably okay then. That character's okay. Because if you've done comedy stuff, and you of course have, and people listening, if you've done it where you kind of over rehearse something to death, like you're where's the funny again?
Oh, yeah.
Like where was our original idea of this is funny?
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the mashup is that, like, we do everything so fast. We do, like, a whole, like, write, edit, rehearse, and perform a brand new sketch comedy show in a weekend.
Yeah, that's what that was.
So, like, you don't ever get to hang back and be like, oh, my God, is this going to be funny? Or you never get to rehearse anything to death. You barely get to rehearse it at all.
Yeah.
So it's still just, like, fresh and fun, and you can wing it a little bit. But not too much, because some people are more comfortable with that than others.
That's all I wanted to do, and I really do. Improv is my thing. I love it. I love just finding out where we are in the scene and where we are in the moment and just going with it. I mean, that's what a podcast is. That's what a lot of the video shows that I do are. But sometimes some people can't do that, and then it just like starts to fall off the rails. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, and what I love about sketch stuff is that it has a little bit for everyone. Like, people who need to be super prepared and who would rather like sit and write in a room can still get a lot out of it, as well as people who do improv and who are just like crazy and having fun.
And you need the both of them.
Yeah, there's writing and acting and improv and stand-up. It all can kind of like come and go depending on what you want to bring into it.
Yeah. Well, it was fun, man, and I want to do it again. And we were just talking with Brent Flyberg and Adam Lang last episode about all of us doing something together. So, just saying.
Well,
take it offline.
The next mashup is April 24th to 26th.
It's done. It's a done deal.
And any of your listeners who are in Seattle who want to try out sketch comedy,
hey,
hit them up.
Yeah, well, and we'll pimp it again at the end of the show because there are actually a lot of Seattle listeners on this podcast. Being a Seattle-based podcast.
I'm sure you have a lot of listeners all over the world.
Well, we actually have some in Barcelona, a lot of Spain, a couple things like that, yeah. I don't know if it's the Carlos thing, that might be part of it.
They all just see Carlos and they're like, oh, okay.
Hey, that podcast, I'll sign up for that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens. But yeah, the comedy stuff is fun, and I forgot I was going to go where that. You were talking about comedy and Nicolas Cage. Oh, writing. Nope, it's gone.
Nope.
I've been sick. My brain is literally not here. But it's going to be here enough to talk about video games. And like we alluded to at the beginning, Hearthstone is a game I played when it first came out. I really enjoyed it. I have one main problem with it, which I will leave for the end. But you tell me why you're playing it still and why you love it so much.
I've probably been playing for like 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start
9 months, jeez.
I didn't start right after it came out of beta either, but I I was at a weed cafe in Vancouver.
I love how this starts.
And I saw this guy, a buddy, like a friend of a friend, was playing this game on his computer, and it looked pretty cool. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, it's Hearthstone. And I had heard about it, but I never played WoW, so I didn't.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I was kind of like, oh, that card game for people who play WoW.
Yeah, right.
But I'm like a recovering Magic the Gathering addict, and I started feeling that itch again because I moved in right across the street from Card Kingdom.
Oh, that's trouble.
Which
is here in Seattle.
Yeah.
In Ballard.
So at first, Hearthstone was sort of just my Magic the Gathering methadone. It was like to keep me from going and paying $300 for like a competitive Magic deck so I could play with all the king nerds.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got super into it, and now like I play all the time.
But have you spent much money on it? Because you can spend money in that game, but you don't have to.
Yeah. I've probably, over the course of 9 months, I've probably spent about $100.
Okay.
$120 maybe.
That's interesting because, like, if you think of a console new release, $60, so still more than one game. And I mean, I'm still playing GTA 5. You know what I mean? And I paid $60 for that, so it's a little more than a full-on price
Totally,
game.
But it's all it's a free to play game. It's all that. It's little. Like I've probably spent $120 on it, but I've never spent more than $20 at a time.
Wait! I want to make sure we are clear. Your price just went up. It was 100, then it went to 120,
and then I said maybe 120.
Yeah. So is it going to, as we go on the podcast, is it get up to like maybe $2,000? Maybe.
No, I realized that I just spent like $15 like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And that probably moved it up a little bit.
Well, then that's the thing is you can keep spending money on it. So when I played it, I loved the idea that they gave you the in-game currency. That there's actually a game that, not to plug my stuff again, but the company that I work for, Big Fish, they have a game called Gummy Drop. In that game, you can get resources and gold for doing the game, just doing the match 3 game.
Yeah.
And then so you don't have to buy anything, but you if you want to, you can. And I just love that option. It's just the balance of when they do that. So make it where like it's actually worthwhile to go get that in-game currency. And I think Hearthstone did that pretty well.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff, the like economics of free to play games. Mm-hmm. And I just read a couple weeks ago that Hearthstone made $400 million in 2014.
Okay.
Which is
pretty good.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
For a ostensibly free game.
Right. They're alongside like a regular pay game, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all just little things like they came out with an expansion that was sort of a single player mode where you play in these sort of AI encounters against these AI with like super powered gimmicky kind of decks.
And that's what I was missing when I first played it, right? That my one caveat, and I'll say it right now, is that me and Kinsey on the show both were really loving it, addicted to it. And then we played against each other, and that was fine. But then the minute it got to play with strangers, I'm out. I just didn't want to do that anymore, you know? And I'm not also a multiplayer guy, so, you know, truth be told, that's not my style. But even with that, it just felt like so repetitive, and I wanted that story mode. And so the fact that they have that one-player expansion was kind of cool.
Yeah, they came out with one in like July, and they actually just today announced that they're coming out with another one in April.
I was going to mention that. It's called Black Rock Mountain Adventure.
Yeah.
Unveiled at PAX East.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, let's see here. The entire adventure can be picked up for $24.99, or there's going to be individual wings. I don't know what that means. Wings.
It's like the previous one that came out in July was the same way.
Okay.
They come out with a wing is like 3 or 4 encounters.
Okay.
It's like one piece of it because since the game is modeled off of WoW, the adventure modes are modeled off of raids in WoW.
Oh, got it. Yep.
So you go through the wings one at a time. And you fight through like 3 monsters and then a boss.
Yep.
And each one of them that you beat gives you a new card that you can then use like against other people.
That's awesome.
So they come out with like 30 new cards, as opposed to they just came out with an expansion in November that was like a straight up like card expansion. Mm-hmm. They introduced like 120 new cards. But that was it. Like, there was no other thing. It was just like, here's a shitload more cards. Have fun.
Which people want when they're addicted to that game. They're like, that's what they want, is new cards.
Yeah.
And you can actually pay for the wings individually as well, which is 700 in-game gold or $6.99 real money. By the way, fellas and gals, that's the same amount. I love when people do $6.99. It's fucking $7.
Totally. But the other thing is, gold doesn't, like...
It's not one for one.
They did the same thing with the other adventure thing, and what I think is so smart about it is that for $25 you can get 700 gold would buy you 7 packs of cards, but for $25 you would only get like 15 or 18 packs if you were buying the packs straight for money.
Yeah.
So they totally are like, buy the adventure with money and spend all the gold on packs.
Yeah.
And part of that was when they announced the first adventure, they announced it like 4 months before it came out. And everybody just had tons of time to save up all this gold.
Yeah.
So they didn't announce what the price was going to be until like 2 weeks before. And I think it was because they were all like crapping their pants that like, no matter what we make the in-game price, everyone's just going to pay gold for it. And we're not going to make any money.
Yeah.
So they ended up doing this super aggressive like bundle where it's like, even if you have all the gold saved up, you're like, crap, if I ever want to spend $25 on this game, I'm going to spend it right now and then spend all that gold I saved on other stuff.
That is like genius marketing, genius planning. It's also a little gross.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it is.
It's like both of those. What's weird is it's how can you call it gross if it works?
And whenever you work in any business, like, it's gross to just engage in business, but that's what business is.
Listen, kid, business is gross.
It is.
If you haven't heard,
you just got to get over it, and figure out a way to live with yourself at night.
Well, and on top of that, game developers have to make money. I work for one. We have to put the lights on or keep the lights on. But it's that kind of slippery slope and how you do it.
Free to play games essentially, like, because you always have the option to be free, they do always need to engage in a little bit of like manipulation. And the good ones do it with kind of a subtle touch. And I feel like Hearthstone in general is pretty subtle about it.
Yeah.
But like, I just switched from Android to iPhone. So I've started mucking around in the Apple store. Mm-hmm. And man, free cell phone games are just like...
There's a million.
For every one that's like decent,
yeah.
There's 20 of them that are just like, give me money, give me money, give me money.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, bright colors. Oh, are you addicted yet? Now give me your money.
Yeah. It sucks because it can be done right.
And the worst thing is that some of them are addictive to where like when they're like, give me the money, like for a second you're like, I mean, it's only like $3.
I mean, come on. Yeah.
It's
like literally. Oh, what was that sketch with Dave Chappelle sketch where he went to the mall and it was like the internet was the mall?
Yeah,
that's totally like people just coming up to you all the time.
If they did like a redone version of that sketch now, like because that was probably 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
But if they did a redo of that sketch now, it would be like the App Store.
Yeah,
and there would just be lots of like hot women or like crazy drugs and stuff like that would just like jump up and be like, here, it's free. And then as soon as you're happy, it's like, give me your money.
Yeah. Well, no, it'd actually probably be like a bunch of like, candies like floating in the sky being like, just connect a few of us and we'll give you, a bunch of prizes.
And then as soon as you connect them, they're like, here's your prize. Oh, wait, but if you give me $1, I'll give you an even bigger prize.
A better prize.
And then as soon as you buy it, it's like, okay, here. Oh, but hang on.
There's
more. Do you
more.
want an even bigger prize for $2? Like,
I'm trying to figure out a voice for that because I feel like it's like a Vanna White that's like all like just worn out and Jewish somehow.
Hey kid.
No, but
you got
like
$1.
I said Vanna White's feminine. There's a little. So you want this? I got this perfectly good match 3 game here. It's got lots of prizes. I don't know why she's worn out. Never mind. Moving on.
Oh, you don't like match threes? That's okay. I got this thing here. It's kind of like Tetris, but it's not.
I don't know why that... I'm still sick. I don't know why that made me laugh. I don't know why she would be an old lady. Listen, we have this game. It's $5.99, but it's not really $5.99. It's free, and then you pay us the $5.99 later. What? So you're playing Hearthstone still 9 months in.
Yeah.
You're excited now because the expansion's coming out, which is the BlackRock one. And do you have a problem with playing with people online, or do you actually like doing that?
That's actually one of the things that I think Hearthstone did amazingly well, is that there is no chat. Mm-hmm. There is no...
I do like that about it.
You have a selection of 6 little emotes that you can do, and that's it.
Remember, you can like throw a cannonball at them or something? Like you can do these little things on the edge of the map.
On the edges of the map. You can play with the edges of the map, but it doesn't... Like, if you do that, it doesn't show up to your opponent.
Oh,
that's
it doesn't?
just something that you can do
that
for
makes me
own.
feel... Because I remember one time I was like, I lost, and I shot off a cannonball or something. I was like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
And he or she never saw it.
It does feel good.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why you do it.
Yeah.
But the other person can't see it.
Yeah, it's wasted. Wasted cannonballs.
But it's...
No, you're right. I mean, they do that well in the fact that you don't have to... You know, almost like Journey or something where it's just real simple. You're playing with somebody, and then it's over. And you're not like calling them an asshole or something.
And honestly, like once you play the game a good amount, it's like it wouldn't be fun to play against an AI. Once you're pretty good at it, like the AI just never is able to keep up.
Oh, is it? Because I feel like maybe I needed to play more because it was kicking my ass for a while. And maybe it's just that, getting a better deck or whatever.
And the big thing is getting the hang of knowing what, like there aren't that many cards.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to know what's available to your opponent.
Yep.
Most people all just use the same like 25 decks that they find on the internet. Mm-hmm. So within the first 2 or 3 turns, you can guess most of the cards that are in the other guy's deck. And then you can start being like, okay, if he has this, then I want to do this. If he has that, then I want to do that. Like,
certain strategic planning and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only problem is that, I think I like the idea of mixing it together with, switching it up, but in the one-player setting, like you said, for that expansion. And that's what this thing is going to be kind of as well. It says it's going to place you into the middle of a war between forces battling for control of the mountain. And there is... Duelists will encounter fierce minions, include dark iron dwarves, fire elementals, dragons, before facing off against iconic menaces from the Warcraft universe, which I thought was really cool. Bring those guys back in.
Yeah, the July one was Naxxramas, which is like a undead themed World of Warcraft raid. Mm-hmm. So it was all like lots of zombies and like spooky stuff, and I don't know anything about World of Warcraft. I just know it because of playing Hearthstone.
Right.
But BlackRock Mountain, I get the impression, is all like fire and lava and like steel and dwarves and dragons and stuff. So it's fun that they're kind of like picking these themes.
Yeah, and I'm sure the people who played Warcraft, because I also wasn't. I mean, I played Warcraft, but not World of Warcraft really. And I mean, I played Ultima Online and other MMOs, but that one never sucked me in. But yeah, for those people, they're probably like doubly excited. Like, oh, it's that place.
Yeah. Well, and now Blizzard's blowing up with that kind of stuff. They've got Heroes of the Storm in beta right now, which is like it's like Dota or League of Legends, but it's StarCraft, Warcraft, and Diablo characters.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
And then there's also Overwatch.
I remember hearing of that.
It's kind of a Team Fortress 2.
Oh, right.
Like, I feel like they're basically just finding these free-to-play games and being like, let's do like that.
But in our world.
But with Warcraft characters.
Yeah. And you know what? It's probably going to work.
Totally.
Yeah. So, well, I dig Hearthstone, and I will go back to it when the expansion comes out because, again, I'm definitely more of that one-player kind of story guy, which is what a great transition for is the game I'm playing right now, amongst others, is Hand of Fate, which I just showed you when you got here.
It looks really cool.
It's on our TV. It's on my TV right now. It is similar to what it sounds like these expansions are for Hearthstone. And it's a card deck building game, but it's also a choose your own adventure game. It kind of feels like a tarot reading. You sit on this table across from this spooky guy who looks like a ninja or somebody from Mortal Kombat. And he leads you through these different missions, and the missions are based on the cards. So you draw cards and you get these encounters, and some are just like, hey, there's a cliff, and look, you see a skeleton down there, and there might be a weapon. Do you want to go check it out? And if you do, you might, gotta get success or failure. And it's like, the thing where they put like something underneath the cards and you shuffle them around, or the card under the hat or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, which one is it, right? So it's like that. And then there's literally the best part of the game is that when you do a battle, it's action RPG battles, which I showed you and you lost your shit.
Yeah.
It's like the best of both worlds.
That's exactly like, I don't know if you ever played Magic, but I feel
a little.
That's like the whole, every kid who played Magic as a kid, like that's all you want is to be able to like, and that's why I'm so jealous of kids now, because I feel like pretty soon we'll have that. Where you just like lay down a card.
A hologram.
Like, a dinosaur pops out from it, and then they fight each other.
Yeah. That is going to happen.
You just turn the card sideways, but you imagine that that's what's happening. Is that like the mermen like go and stab the mammoth?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm so coughing so much. I'm so sick. But that reminds me of like D&D, right? So we're playing D&D, and we are making it all up in our head the same way. And now we literally have Skyrim. And we're, it's not the same. There's not a Dungeon Master. It's not the multiplayer.
But Skyrim's better because you don't even have to have any friends to be able to play Skyrim.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Skyrim is so amazing that you don't need friends. That's the answer to that. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah.
But, I think it's pretty incredible what they're doing with Hand of Fate. And it's on Steam. I'm playing it on my PlayStation 4, which you have as well.
Yeah.
So you might want to go check it out. It's $20 on PlayStation 4, $25 on Steam. But like it was like not even a thought.
That's
purchased.
That's not bad.
No,
I just bought Helldivers, which I haven't gotten to play yet.
I want to try that out.
Spring Fever thingy.
Is that now? Can we play together? That's a multiplayer thing, right?
Yeah,
yeah. I need to search more about that.
Now that I know that you're on PS4 as well, you and I should just play games all the time.
I don't know about all the time. I have no time.
All the time.
Okay, fine. All the time. Yes, and.
Yes, and.
It works in this situation, too. No, I want to check out Helldivers, and maybe we'll talk about it on the website or on another podcast when you come back on.
Sure.
But, we'll try that out. I suggest a Hand of Fate to everybody. Obviously, anybody who's playing Hearthstone, get excited about the expansion. It's coming soon. But Hand of Fate, in the meantime, it's pretty fucking amazing. And it's one player only, like for realsies, like one player. That's the other reason I love it.
That's cool. Normally, I'm a big single-player fan as well. I like Hearthstone because it doesn't feel like I'm doing multiplayer because no one can talk to me.
Yep.
They have to friend request me if they want to trash talk me after the game, and I usually just say, nope,
sorry.
I don't want to hear from you.
Yep.
If I won, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I don't want to hear it anyway, either way. Lose or win. Just get off my lawn.
Yeah, no, the only people on my friends list are people who I actually know.
Yeah, me too. And I think that even those I don't generally play with. Like, there's this one, what game was it? Oh, Diablo, that let you, again, this is great kind of a passive way to still play with people. In Diablo 3, The Reaper of Souls, playing on PlayStation 4, me and Kinsey were so excited. Because we were friends, we could give each other treasures.
Yeah. I played Diablo 3 on my PS4, and I get treasures from my friends all the time.
And I was like, fucking great. I don't have to talk to anybody, and I just get shit from them.
Yeah, and they hook you up.
And Shadow of Mordor did another version that was really cool. Did you ever play that, Shadow of Mordor?
Yeah.
Where your friend could have a guy who killed him, an orc that killed him, or Oogler, or whatever the fuck they call it. Uruk, that's it. And that guy kills him, and then that becomes an enemy in your world.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go avenge fucking Dan.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I like how the PS4 is, like, blending in these kind of unconventional online. I I haven't played the game, but that game Dying Light that just came out.
So fucking good.
Has a crazy mode where you can become a zombie and invade one of your friends. You become like a super zombie and invade one of your friends' games and try to just like mess them up.
I've not done that yet, and it seems real cool. Again, I'm not generally going to play even my friends, but that's a cool thing. And that game is fucking great, by the way.
I'm eyeing it. I'm basically in that holding pattern where right now I have so many games that I'm not playing.
Yeah, I know.
That I want to buy it, but I also am like, you know what? Why don't I just spend the next 3 months beating all the other games I really want to play, and then I'll buy that one for $30. I
tell that voice to shut up. Usually, that voice just goes to hell. Was it the angel or demon? That's the devil voice.
Well, I honestly feel especially bad buying any PS4 games because I know in my heart of hearts that all the game time that I have, I usually just play Hearthstone instead.
Nice.
So, like, I know deep down that
it's going to be Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Or / Hand of Fate. Check it out. It's not bad. Hey, before we leave what we're playing, and I'm going to cough again. I'm trying not to. This is the most I've talked probably in succession in like a week. This game is on, I found it on indiegames.com, which I love that website. If you've never checked it out, go to indiegames.com. It's crazy. It's like they pretty much curate the web for the coolest and most interesting indie games. So I was playing this one. It's called Grab Them by the Eyes, which sounds like a horror game or something. But it's basically a simulator, 2D, where you have it's a burger or whatever, fast food selling simulator. And you have a sign, and so that's what Grab Them by the Eyes. It's grab the customers. It's a turn-based strategy game in a way that's basically free-to-play, no monetization. And what you do is you get cards, almost like a deck building, and you go to the store to buy new stuff for your sign so that people will come to eat your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Versus like the guy you're right next to. And you start the game.
It's like a Bob's Burgers kind of scenario.
Right.
It's like you don't want him to go to Jimmy Pesto's. You want to come.
Fucking Jimmy Pesto.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy, by the way.
Yeah, he's a total dick.
He's such an asshole. So, you get things like, you get like lights in different colors, and then you get like actual sayings. And so the first one was like, acceptable food. Like, I guess I'll pick that one. Or like, oh, you need substance is one of them. It's like, I guess that works. And they get better and better as you get more money, too.
I was going to say, this is like a terrible sign store.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you only have $50? I'm sorry, you get the one that says crappy burgers sold here.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, like when you have like this different turns where one of the turns is you get to go buy the sign, and in that, you're bidding kind of against the other opponent.
Oh, okay.
It's not multiplayer. It's against the other computer, these guys who are trying to beat you out. And in the beginning, it's your Jay's food stand and their filthy burger or something. And so, yeah, filthy's like the worst one, right? And then it just gets up and up. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of strategies to it. It's not just getting the best. It's kind of varying it up and then using your resources wisely. But it's always fun at the very end. You get to see how many people went to your place and went to theirs. It literally just shows you the people line up and then go left and right. It's so simple. It's just fun, though. I couldn't stop playing it.
That actually does sound pretty fun.
Grab Them by the Eyes.
Grab Them by the Eyes.
Check it out on indiegames.com. We haven't done enough low voices on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just do this for 5 minutes. Oh, yeah. No, we won't. One more thing before I leave I just said one more thing. Never mind then. That's it. I'm playing Monster Hunter and I don't know if I care for it. I'm going to say that out loud.
I mentioned to you before we started recording that I have a PlayStation Vita.
Yes.
And I like it, but my main issue with the Vita system is because it is much more successful in Japan than it is here. Mm-hmm. It's entirely JRPGs and Monster Hunter clones, and I don't really care for Monster Hunter games.
Have you played one, by the way?
I've never actually played Monster Hunter.
Right.
But I've played like 50 games that are supposed to be like Monster Hunter.
Well, here's the deal, and we'll talk about Monster Hunter for a minute then. Because I agree I love JRPGs, and I think I loved them more when they were brand new to me, and like, what the fuck is this? And I think I'm similar where I'm kind of burnt out, but Monster Hunter is a little bit more of the collectible, which is why you might actually like it. Collectible, I don't say Pokemon, but like getting stuff to go out like Shadow of Colossus style and, take down these big monsters. But then along the way, you're getting resources and crafting things and, going on certain quests just to find these special potions. There's a lot of collecting, hunter and gathering kind of stuff and upgrading and crafting. A lot of that. So like almost more than like the big monsters in the beginning. So it's just a lot of time consuming stuff that I literally don't have time for.
Yeah.
So that's been my biggest problem with that game.
And that's something that, like with me, like that was why I kind of fell off of Diablo, because that's kind of what it started to feel like. I love RPGs and I love having like a sense of progression in a game, but I hate just like collecting for collecting's sake and trying to min-max everything and like that kind of stuff. I don't enjoy at all.
Yeah, the min-max, you're right. Like, I think I might not either. And again, there's a million people listening to the podcast who love that stuff, and that's great because we have to have varied games out there, and that literally scratches a lot of itches for a lot of people.
Totally.
But at the same time, I was just thinking about this the other day, and this is kind of a tangent, but when I go to the PlayStation 4 store, when I go to PSN, and I'm looking for new stuff, I do kind of right now push everything against, is it Skyrim? Is it Fallout 3? Or is it, now I'm adding to the list, Dying Light? That's why you should get it. But like for me, I'm in that mode. It just, I don't know where I'm at in my life, or I've played so many fucking games that I want that immersive thing they're talking about. I want the story, and I want the ending, and I want all of that is the how and why I play a game. And that's taking over everything else. Like that's why when I sat down with Monster Hunter, I was like, "Oh, I'll just do this, and it'll totally consume my world." And then I realized, "Oh, I'm min-maxing. I'm doing that stuff that you're talking about." No, it won't, because I'm going to put it down,
dude. And you know what? Just last weekend, I had one of the most immersive experiences of a game that I've played in a long time, and it was exactly like what you're talking about. It was exactly the opposite of that, where it's just straight story, which is the Walking Dead games.
Oh, they're great.
I never played those before, and I got them on sale a while back, and I kept being like, I'm going to play those. And last weekend, I sat down on a Saturday and just like popped in episode 1, and I probably played that game for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Because I'm just engrossed with the storyline. And the gameplay of it is like awful.
It's
like,
just simple. Yeah, it's real simple.
There essentially isn't any. You just walk around and you talk to people and
search
you
for things,
explore
quick time
the
events.
story.
Yeah.
And occasionally you need to decide which person you're going to let die.
You kill a couple zombies. There's some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not,
but
like
even that is like tap a button.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's dead.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's more about the story.
But
it's
man,
so beautiful.
the story is intense, man.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, like that's what I'm looking for now, because I totally identify with what you're saying. It's like, is it Fallout? Is it Last of Us?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like,
is
it something that I'm going to walk away from feeling like I'm really glad I played that game? And not just like, oh, that was 2 hours that I shut my brain off.
That too, and also not just enjoying it, but for me and for a lot of people who have really busy lives, it's literally that escape in the fullest sense, right? So right now, you're going to leave. I'm probably going to lay down for a while. And then when I get up, I'm going to play Hand of Fate for a little while. But I know already, even though it has that RPG element to it, I'm still going to get tired. Because it's not, I can still see the table and the deck, and I can still see the wheels going. I can't like be like, oh no, where am I? I'm on a mountain somewhere? I need to be gone. And Dying Light did that. That's why you need to check that fucking game out. It was like, oh, I'm in the Middle East for no war reasons, by the way. None of that. Like, this is why we're in the Middle East in the video game.
Oh wait, you mean it's not 50 Cent Blood in the Sand?
No, it's not that. Which, by the way, I think I remember was a pretty good game.
I loved it.
Yeah, okay.
I love all the 50 Cent games.
How can you
But
not?
I don't think I love them for the
right
reason
reasons.
that they wanted me to love them.
I think Blood in the Sand, though, was actual good mechanics, though. I think the game was actually kind of fun, the shooting. If I was wrong, I might be wrong.
I mean, it was a third-person cover shooter. Like,
Yeah. Anyways, that's enough time talking about 50 Cent.
Hey.
Oh, wait. Oh, we got a 50 Cent apologist here.
Hey. I'm just saying, 50 Cent is the real reason we won the war in Iraq.
Oh, then yes, I agree. Yeah.
I learned that from that
I was wondering where you're going with that.
I learned that from that game. He saved us from like 1,000 terrorists.
Yeah. It's a true story.
Because they showed up at one of his concerts and disrespected him.
That's
so
how
he killed all of them.
That's how it starts usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. From a rap concert.
Yeah.
And no one calls it rap concerts. Anyways. You going to that rap concert? No? They don't call them that anymore? All right.
You guys want to go down to the rap concert?
Want to go down to a rap concert? I don't know why we talk like this, I guess. I actually go to Southern style voice any chance I get. I need to make a character within that. I just love it so much.
The Southern voice is like, it's a very fine line as a comedic device, because I feel like, for whatever reason, someone decided a very long time ago that Southern voices make you sound stupid.
Okay.
And I feel like I love when people use Southern voices in comedy stuff, but I also think it's kind of weird that whenever someone's like, "Oh, it's a stupid character," I'll just give them a Southern accent.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I feel like,
come on, man.
Well, because I feel like that's the line between using that accent, but at the same time, I feel like I just do it anytime. Like, let's go to the rap concert. That doesn't mean anything. Like,
it's just a great voice.
Yeah, he might want to go to the rap. That guy, whoever that is, wants to go to the rap concert.
Yeah,
I think we should pick up a PlayStation 4. Like, why wouldn't we? Like, Hand of Fate is a real good game. I won't play anything unless it has that Skyrim kind of vibe. It still sounds great. I just love it so.
You now you sound like Kenneth from 30 Rock.
Oh, the Page.
Yeah,
he's adorable.
The very excited, like,
yeah.
Oh, hey guys.
He's got more of that golly G kind of sound.
Yeah.
Who was that? Don Knotts. Maybe the originator of that sound. Can we say that?
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, he was in fucking Three's Company. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Roper.
Mr. Roper. I'd actually liked the landlord either before or after him. I think before. There was a landlord and his wife, and that was before the Don Knotts landlord.
Yeah.
None of our listeners know what we're talking about. But...
I know exactly what you're talking about, though, because I watched a lot of Nick at Night.
Oh, see, I watched it originally, but I'm old. Listen, kids, that's a joke about his age again. He says that a lot.
I didn't know how to respond, but
it's okay.
Yes,
I'm old.
You're old as shit.
But yeah, I heard it when I watched that when it aired. But that show is so fucking good.
You know what I always found like really funny about Three's Company? And several 70s shows did this, and is that like the premise of Three's Company, I don't think is ever actually like directly explained in the entire show.
I thought they do the intro.
I mean, maybe the first episode, but then they just never refer to it again. The whole reason why they're all so awkward around the landlord is that Jack is pretending to be gay so that he's allowed to live with these two women.
Yeah.
Which is just bizarre in and of itself.
It is
like
bizarre.
That there would be a rule, like, no men and women living together unless they're married or one's a homo.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's how they'd say it, yeah.
Yeah. But I guess, like, in the 70s when you had Don Knotts for a landlord, like...
Well, it's weird because they're coming off of you think of this... We think of like forward progression and where we are now with all that stuff. But then you think of the 70s as just 20 years after the 50s, where they were literally like, that's what a woman is, and that's what the woman does. And that's where the black people go. Like, that was like 20 years ago. So for 20 years to be like, oh, yeah, it still was a little murky on television.
Yeah, well, and that was the other thing that just cracked me up about it is like, how you write a character who's not okay with renting an apartment in the 70s to like an unmarried couple.
Yeah.
Or to a man and a woman who aren't married.
Yeah.
But is totally comfortable renting to like an openly gay man.
Right. That is true. Yeah. It's weird. Well, and on top of that, like there was parts of the 70s where it was like anything goes, right? Like it's the end of the 60s. hippie love. Like, why the fuck would they not do that?
But that's kind of what I feel like is part of the story of the show, is that he's kind of like the landlord's kind of the old, out of touch guy.
Right.
And they're all like swingers, because Jack always had girls over all the time.
Yeah.
And like,
it might have been more like just like, don't be a troublemaker. Like like you said, like he's like, oh, this guy's gonna be bringing people home all the time. It's getting crazy up there. I don't want any of that stuff. But still is weird. You're right. It's still weird. You know what's equally as weird and has similar premise? Another show I loved back then, The Bosom Buddies.
Bosom Buddies, yeah.
Right. So Tom Hanks, and I always forget his name, but he's fucking great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude.
Who was he?
He hates. He's probably not going to hear it, but I'll find out. But Bosom Buddies, they pretended to be ladies, and for some reason they got away with it, even though they were clearly men in drag.
Yeah, they were trying to live in like a women's shelter, or like a woman-only apartment complex.
Yeah, women only.
Because it was the only
New York.
open apartment in New York, so they had to dress up as women.
Peter Scolari.
Peter Scolari, yeah.
Fucking great Peter Scolari. 1984 it came out. Wait, it ran from 1980 to 82, and then came back in 84. But anyways, again, ridiculous premise. And what I was going to say, why I bring both together, the reason why I love those shows, and I said Three's Company's the fucking best. John Ritter and fucking Tom Hanks.
John Ritter was so good.
John Ritter just destroyed. He carried that show. And then, of course, Don Knotts was
John Ritter carried everything he ever did.
Fucking
He
fantastic.
was really funny.
Yeah.
Underutilized.
Yeah, I agree. And then Tom Hanks is why Bosom Buddies worked, right? He was just like, any scene he was in, I was laughing and like just interested. So, anywho. Oh, a little trip down memory lane of television stuff. We're way off the beaten path. Monster Hunter, my review is I don't think I'm going to play it, and I am really, really sad because I don't have any time. But I'm going to take up Brad Galloway's offer to show me some stuff in the game, because you can actually play online with that.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a little MMO-esque. So we're going to go in. I'm going to jump in with Brad, and we're going to try some stuff, and then I'll give you my full review next week probably. Let's take a quick break. We'll talk about some game news and GDC when we come back. And we're back with some game news, and we're going to start off with GDC.
JDC?
JDC.
JDC?
See, well, I'm doing a different version of it. Different version.
A Durfin?
It sounds a little bit German and a Southern. But for no reason. See, that person saying GDC wasn't dumb.
I just did a show last weekend with a bunch of Seattle sketch comedy people. And we had a sketch where the whole Seattle City Council were Southern people.
Uh-huh.
This was my Southern voice for that show.
Okay.
Hang on. Now, I were talking to a friend of mine the other day. He wears a white coat. He's a very intelligent individual. And he told me that there tunnel underneath the downtown city could cause the Alaska Way Viaduct to collapse. Is that for true?
Oh, for true. I like that. Yeah, I like it. It's got a little bit of a high pitch to it at times, and it's good. I like him. Where was that from? You did a show?
Oh, it was at. It was called Specific Northwest. We're doing it's kind of a ensemble of a bunch of Seattle sketch groups getting together and writing like topical Seattle humor. So all the jokes were about the Sonics and the Seahawks and the Bertha drill thing. And
so that first thing, people who don't live in Seattle don't get, but it is funny.
Yeah.
Trust us.
Trust me.
Trust us. It's a funny bit.
Yeah. And we make fun of like rain and stuff.
That's cool, man. I think, Almost Live and stuff really fucking utilize that for a long time.
Yeah.
Again, another Seattle reference, but our SNL basically here in Seattle.
That's basically the idea, is that he wants to start up a new version of Almost Live, basically, which is like, it's very SNL-ish. We had a musical guest, and we had video sketches and like bumpers.
Yeah. This sounds amazing, and also similar to that TV thing I did. Remember I told you about?
Yeah.
Yeah. sounds similar to that. And like I love the idea of variety. Like one of my favorite things in the world. Mm-hmm. So I'll have to check that out because that sounds groovy. When we were actually filming our pilot, we got some requests, if it succeeded, to move it to some local stuff, like in the show.
Oh,
like someone was
like,
cool.
Cool.
But we were on the fence with it because we want to, at the end of the day, we wanted that show to just be a good show by itself and not have to need that crux, Now, if it starts that way, like your thing you guys were talking about, then that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is what we're doing. This is the point of it. But mine wasn't. Mine was like an old-timey, different video game nerdy show. And so we were like, I don't know if we want to do that, And it's interesting when you get those kind of conversations, if someone goes, hey, this is going to be made if you do what we say, that, like, I'll make that change to get it done.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So that was one of my first times in a kind of a bigger setting for a show to have to make a decision on that. I think I said no, essentially. And now we're not on the air.
Yeah, but see how that turned out.
So kids, listen. Do whatever they say.
Whenever somebody who has more power than you tells you to do something, you should just do it.
You just do it. That is not the answer. I'm just kidding. We're just joking. Okay, GDC happened. There was a lot of stuff that happened. I'm going to go through a few things. I love GDC. I wasn't able to go this year. I've gone so many years. I love it. It's a great show for developers. It's primarily for them, right? Them to get together, look over what they did, look what their friends did, learn lessons about what they can do in the future. It's really great. But at the same time, they also announce a few things because it's like another E3 in that way. So some of the things that happened, Valve did show off some Steam machines because we talked about that might be happening because that went away for a while.
Yeah,
people were like, Steam machines. Well, okay, I guess.
I remember hearing about that. I wonder if they were put off by the massive success that was the, how do you say it, Ouya?
Oh, hey, I have one of those. The Ouya is great. It's behind there somewhere, but it was great, and I pimped the shit out of it. I really did. It was a little box, and it just okay. Here's the thing about the Ouya. People are probably sick of it because I talk about it a lot on the podcast. I get your joke and I acknowledge it, first off.
Well, thank you for acknowledging it.
There you go. We got that. That's why they're scared from the Steam machines. Closed loop. Second thing is, it's a great emulator machine. Fucking great. Like, all the emulators, like, run, like, perfectly. If you've ever tried to fuck with emulators, sometimes...
Yeah.
And the controller support, right? Real hard to do. This thing, it has a wireless controller. That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But it works. So I'm like literally playing. We did a video for Metal Jesus Rocks. It's a YouTube channel here.
Yeah.
And we did one for TurboGrafx, and I played all of the games, wirelessly from my couch.
That is pretty sick.
So
that is pretty. I didn't mean to insult the Ouya.
I know. I'd go into defensive stance for Ouya. I don't know why.
That's okay. I do the same thing with my Vita because I love my Vita, and whenever I say like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna play my Vita," people are like, "Ugh."
And then you punch them square in the nose.
And then I'm just like, I'm just going to go play Persona and cry.
Persona's great.
Persona's like the flagship Vita game.
Yeah, well, it's a fucking great game anyhow. What's that? Persona 5 is coming out.
Persona 5 is coming out.
For PlayStation 4. It's so exciting.
You know what game I've been playing on my Vita like crazy is Rogue Legacy.
Oh, yeah.
That game's super fun.
I love that that's cross-play. That's like PS4?
Yeah. I tried it on my PS4, and I was like, this is fun. But then I was like, wait, this would be awesome. Because on the Vita, I just sit on the bus. I've had several times where I'm in the middle of like a really good Rogue Legacy run, and I look up,
your stop.
And my bus stop was like 4 stops ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit.
It's a sign of a good game.
Yeah.
Well, Steam machines came back. And for some reason, what is this company, iBuyPower? We got to just stop it, man. Stop it with your name. I went to go look for my new PC, which I have one over here, and that was one of the choices. The company is iBuyPower. It seems a little heavy-handed.
iBuyPower?
That's the name of their company. iBuyPowers, S, like whatever machine. Anyways, they had one they were showing that was $459. PC Maker's Falcon Northwest, which are amazing, had one upwards of $5,000. So the range is great, right? Similar to PCs. You have a $500 console type price, and then you have $5,000 for fancy business. But the only reason I got the new PC, I can bring an HDMI cable and bring it over to my television and make it work. I can play it on my TV that way. But the idea of a Steam machine, for me, the most exciting part is that it's a small box that doesn't do much of anything besides Steam OS, and that it has a wireless control and I can play on my couch, right?
Yeah.
But why haven't we all... I don't know if there's not been enough machines out yet, or this isn't adopted. Like, we aren't, as a consumer, on board with this yet. What's missing, Dan? What's missing?
I think most people really struggle with... I think we're not quite there yet on the whole blurring of the line between a console and a PC. And I think Steam on a console... I don't know that people are really looking for another console. And I think that most PC gamers...
Or get the fuck away from
me. Yeah. I think there's a huge contingent of PC gamers who the number one reason they like PC gaming is that it's not a console with a wireless controller that connects to a TV.
Yeah, which is so funny because everybody needs to calm down.
It's all the friggin' same thing. A TV and a computer monitor are the same friggin' thing.
My TV's bigger than my computer monitor, and it looks nicer.
And my TV has an internet browser in it now.
Yeah, so does mine.
What the fuck? We live in the future. Everything's the same.
Well, I said this since day one, which is probably 12 or whatever years old. But I always envisioned this idea. It wasn't 12; it was high school because I read 1984 and Brave New World, which have also come up on this podcast. But in those books, there are basically what I think we'll have, which is TV walls, right? And they were fully interactive. In Brave New World, there was the most realized version. Brave New World, I forgot when it was written. I'll look it up.
I think it's going to end up being more like Google Glass,
Or, then there's the HoloLens, which is the stuff in front of you, the augmented reality. But in general, the screen or the place you play it shouldn't matter, right? It's like the delivery device. The smallest box I can have should be the ideal thing.
Totally.
Not the biggest PC, case or whatever.
Totally.
It should be whatever is teeny. It maybe comes out of my watch or whatever. Maybe it's part of my watch in the future. And then I just play. And then, of course, the other thing is important is the interface. Right, so a lot of people do like the mouse and keyboard, and certain people like controllers. Well, so I think that becomes the difference, right? The interface.
And in a lot of ways, I think that it's become obvious for a while that everything is gradually going to migrate to all being one thing.
Mm-hmm. Taco Bell.
But there's just a ton of people who want to make sure that whatever everything turns into is their thing.
Right.
Remember when you used to have not only a phone, but also a watch and a camera and a video camera and maybe a pager or some
Palm
sort
Pilot.
of text messaging device a Palm Pilot?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when all of those were separate things and a calculator?
They showed a Radio Shack flyer recently on Twitter somewhere or on Facebook, and it was this whole front page of the Radio Shack flyer is in your smartphone now.
Yeah.
It was the whole front page.
I mean, just while you were talking about that Steam box and computer gaming, I mean, my phone is easily more powerful than the PCs that I started gaming on when I started playing lots of games.
Yeah. Part of that's the Moore's Law thing as well, which at some point I feel like we're going to get to an end of. But anyways, heady discussion aside, I think that no more Steam boxes is better. More options I always believe is better. I think the problem, though, is the other thing that came out of GDC was their controller. They finalized their Steam controller. It does not look good. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Do you remember the old prototype version? It looked like an owl.
Yes.
It doesn't look much better than that. And the buttons, the face buttons, are beneath where so basically you have a left analog stick now, which is a new thing. and that's great, whatever, I guess, if you want to use the controller in that way. But then where your right thumb goes, it's a big kind of touchpad, which mimics the mouse, etc. And it's very sensitive and works. But then there's face buttons, like you would have on a console controller. They're beneath that right area. So you basically have to, if you're using that right area and sliding around for camera, you have to put your thumb down to get to the buttons.
Well, I mean, how else do you do a mouse and buttons?
I don't know.
With the same finger.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the best version of that, but to me, that still seems like...
To me, that's the other thing about PC game controls, is that, like, if you're just going to take a game with PC controls and port it to a controller, you've got to be able to mimic both the keyboard and the mouse.
Right.
And that's just like, I don't see how you can do that.
Well, literally, it comes back to what we just started this conversation with then. That's the difference, right? And maybe the two shall never meet, right? Because the interfaces are solely different.
Or at least, I mean, you design a game differently when you're designing it for a keyboard and mouse than you would for a controller.
Yeah, it's just so weird, too, now that you have games that are basically, super cross-platform. So they're not just super console cross-platform. They're on Steam, too.
Yeah, there are games now coming out where you can play multiplayer between computers and consoles, which is crazy. But there are certain games, like I think about, like we were talking earlier, maybe it was us who were talking earlier about StarCraft.
Oh, yeah.
StarCraft 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you even play StarCraft 2 on a controller?
Yeah.
Like, if you're into StarCraft 2,
yeah,
you need like 40 fucking buttons to do what you're trying to do in a StarCraft 2 game.
Like we mentioned last podcast, especially the professional gamers, right? They have their rig set up, and that's how that's going to fucking go, Yeah. You're not going to get no dang controller.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even... I mean, do you watch those guys where it's like, you have to hit this button every second and a half, and you have to hit this button every 3.5 seconds, and they just like...
They're like concert pianists.
It is. It is like concert pianists.
I just did that so we could say pianist.
I love that word.
It's such a great word. It plays with that line just so he's going to say pianist, right? No, he's not.
Yeah. Pianist.
Pianist. You get real close to it.
Yeah.
It just goes away when you have the T at the end.
Pianist.
I think the T really saves it.
It is mostly the T.
Let's get rid of
Although the little lilt in the first syllable,
lilt
like
and the T.
Pianist.
Yeah. And you all of a sudden, don't you feel a little smarter when you say it? I feel a little smarter.
It is. It's a very, it's not just an artistic word, but it's also kind of like a classy
word. Yeah. I was listening to this concert pianist the other day. Did you say concert pianist? No, I said concert pianist. If you get rid of the T, though, pianists. Yep, it's just pianist.
Yeah.
Even with the lilt.
Even with the lilt.
The
lilt doesn't save it.
The lilt doesn't save the penis. Is that the name of the podcast? The lilt doesn't... I don't know. Hey, other news. So GDC happened. There's much more stuff that came out of that. Valve controller, the Steam controller, the Steam machines, also Valve VR they showed that off. Did you know about that?
Oh.
Yeah. I think they showed an HTC model of something, but there was a demo, and I guess someone said they tried on the demo, and they were actually in a Portal demo. So like they were like in the science lab and seeing like GLaDOS in virtual reality.
That would freak me out, man.
The guy tried it, said he was kind of freaked out. But it's all testing right now, but they're definitely, put through their hat in the ring. And the name of the show, besides the great conversations and the awards show and stuff like that, was virtual reality. Was a lot of places. And then one more thing. Yeah. I mean, it's been flirting with coming out and being a real thing for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that this is just more of... It's interesting that it happened at GDC because it's saying, hey, these people are bringing these things out to show the developers, right? And to show that Valve is like, no, developers, we're really serious about virtual reality. We're actually going to do it as well. I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, developers are going to take it to heart and go, like, I think we should really fucking do this thing. Because Sony has their version, too, Morpheus.
I find it just incredible how Valve has evolved from like a game studio to what they are now, which is essentially like the company that runs all of computer gaming.
We kind of just talked about them most of the podcast. I just realized. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Them and Blizzard was pretty much the whole thing.
So they're awesome. I mean, I don't. Gage did smart decisions.
It's really, I mean, honestly, anymore, it's very difficult to talk about any PC gaming at all that isn't connected to Valve, other than Blizzard and like those other games that are like directly competing with Valve. You know.
Well, what's funny is that when I recently was, I get in these hankerings for new games, and I play everything, but I still want more. And Steam releases a ton of games, but one weekend
they give you those great discounts.
Oh yeah, which means my library is full of things I've never played. But at some point, like there was nothing new on Steam. There was nothing new in my PlayStation Store. I was like, where else the fuck do I go? And I just had a real moment of realization on how much I did depend on Steam for telling me what to buy, or my PlayStation. And if I had an Xbox, that marketplace as well. But so that's when I went to indiegames.com and actually found that burger game.
Yeah. I want to go check that site out now. I've never been there.
Yeah, because, where are these other places? I want more curators. I want different distribution methods. And I think it's, more is better for that too. Because if we're just like, there's nothing new on Steam, then that's not how we should think of it.
You know what's a funny thing that I've noticed for myself over the last like year or two is that I used to think that like buying a game digitally was nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want the actual game? Because it's usually the same price, but you can like sell the game afterwards or whatever. And same thing, like I got a Kindle not that long ago, and I was just talking to someone the other day and realized that about a year ago, my whole thought process on that like stood on its head. And now I'm like, screw physical games. Like, I want Steam, I want PSN, I want Kindle, because it's like, I just bring that one little thing, and it's the same as if I brought 50 books, and I don't need to buy another fucking shelf in my house to put more books up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in.
I know. I go back and forth with it because, with books, obviously I like holding a book and that feeling, but at the same time I go on a trip, which I do a lot of trips, and I want to have like a little device with me or a tablet or something.
I don't want to have to pick one book. To bring.
I usually pick like two, even with my tablet. But then with digital games, the problem we ran upon is, and I talked about this in the show before, but with PlayStation and with other things, when the servers go down, your games go down, and that's fucked because you bought them already. So there's a double-edged sword there.
Well, and what happens if 20 years down the road? What happens if like something goes sideways and like Valve or the PSN or something like that just goes away?
Yeah, our games are gone.
There goes all your games.
Yeah. Well, a good thing to do for that is goodoldgames.com is great. Mm-hmm. Now they do release some new stuff actually.
Yeah, I've used them a bunch. They're really cool.
Ton of old games, but they actually do some new games now. Or they may have done it for a while, but I realized when I went there the other day that there was some new games.
They've been getting a good number of new games.
And you fucking download that game. That game is yours.
Yeah.
You put it on your computer with a little folder.
Yeah.
The name of the game on it.
Yeah. That's sort of like the exception that proves the rule. Like they obviously decided that was the one big thing that they could do differently than Steam does to make it worthwhile to go through them instead.
Well, and I think the original...
And the fact that they have all the really old PC games.
Yeah.
That was what drew me to them, is that, all of a sudden one day it was like, oh my God. I found so many games on that site that I haven't even thought about in 15 years.
Yeah. One of my favorites is, and we're going to do actually... I can't spoil it. Whatever. Yeah, I can. I can do whatever I want. We're soon somewhere, let's just say, I'm going to do a retrospective on Ultima games.
Ooh, cool.
A video of it. And it is going to be awesome because it's one of my favorite series of all time. And I immediately bought all of them on Good Old Games when I went there, right? It was like, all the games for $8.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, of course. But that being said, with this project I'm working on, this video, I'm like, oh, I really want the boxes of them, though. You know, because that's when I grew up. I had that cloth map and the little stone and all the things that came in them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to get them again.
When I first got on Good Old Games, the first games I bought were the... Oh, God, what's the name of the series?
I don't know.
I had it in my head.
Police Quest?
Baldur's Gate.
Oh, Baldur's Gate. Love it.
I got the Baldur's Gate games and, like, Neverwinter Nights and that kind of stuff.
Icewind Dale.
And I also got an old DOS game called Crusader No Remorse that I remembered like crazy from when I was a kid, but I never knew the name of it. And all of a sudden one day I came across like the art on Good Old Games and I was like, what? That's that game that I used to play all the time.
And did you play it again and see?
Yeah. And
it's shit.
It's a DOS game. It didn't hold up the way I hoped it would.
What's funny is some of them do, right? Like
occasionally they do. Like I also got Descent Free Space.
Oh yeah,
that totally held up.
Yeah,
that game was fun.
Yeah,
I had to get my girlfriend at the time. My fiance now, she was my girlfriend at the time. She was working at like a used video game store, and I had to get her to track me down like an old PC joystick.
Oh yeah,
because you can't play like Descent, Free Space, or TIE Fighter, or any of those old games without a joystick.
Yeah.
But you can't even buy a new PC joystick anymore.
Well, you just go to Value Village, baby.
I know.
Value Village.
Well, I had her go to the used video game store because
Yeah.
this was when I was still in Phoenix, and she got me a $2 like.
Yeah.
Because that's all you need. It's just
yeah.
the crappy like flight sim thing with like 6 buttons on it.
Yeah. It's funny how many really awesome controllers for my PC me and my buddy upstairs, Core, have got from like Value Village and like, you know, little places like that. You go to the electronics section. Like a lot of times people don't know what they're looking for. They don't know the kind of stuff is back there. I'm like, this is a perfectly great PC controller. You know
what I found at my parents' house maybe a year ago that just blew my mind. It was a pad with like a picture of a golf ball on it that had a cord, like a monitor cable that you would hook it up to your PC. And then it had a big club that looked like a golf club, but at the end of it was like a big laser pointer that was shaped like a half circle. And you would stand with the golf club in your hand and line that laser pointer up with the pad and swing it, and you'd play Lynx on your computer, and it would like translate your swing somehow. It was like the goofiest old controller,
like Lynx 386, like the old. Yeah.
It was Lynx. I mean, I remember my dad playing with it. It was probably 1994.
It's still pre-Wii.
Oh, it was quite pre-Wii.
Yeah, you're like describing what Wii Golf is.
Oh my God.
Right?
And the laser pointer thing, it weighed like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And it was this big thing, and like I don't even want to know what he paid for it at the time.
Oh yeah. That's
it was
technology.
it was essentially like the DDR mat of 1994.
Yeah.
Because in 1994, the only people who were springing for computer games were like,
had money,
yuppies.
Yeah, like
golfers.
I can afford this.
They were golfers. They weren't ravers. Ravers didn't have that kind of disposable income at the time, which is why it was golf games and not Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes. Lynx, by the way, you said that name, and I just conscious memories of me and my cousin playing a ton of that fucking game on the computer. And I think there was Lynx 386 and 486. I think, what did they call them? Just the names? I'm going to look this up. Because the 386 was a PC, it's like...
but
I feel like they just called it by the name of... Oh, maybe I'm thinking of it wrong. Anyways, Lynx is the series. No, Lynx 386. They really called it that? It just seems so weird because it was
back then, all the games were like that,
But it's like the name of like just the computer.
But I think Lynx was a Microsoft thing, and Microsoft did that all the time. It was like 92, 93, 94, 95.
Oh, it's just so funny that it's based on the computer. But anyways, Lynx 386, we found a thing where you could hack the map or the character or something, and we were real excited. Oh, the voices, that was it. we could find the sound files.
Oh, nice.
And we recorded with our microphone our own voices. So instead of the dumb things that we would say.
And replace the file names and stuff.
Yes.
That was the best thing about early PC gaming is that all of it was just like so strung together.
And hackable.
Oh, I remember
Like,
the best day of my life discovering weed or girls or whatever.
I was going to say, this is a pretty strong statement, but continue.
Yeah, the best day of my life pre the discovery of weed and women was finding the mod for Doom 2 that turned all of the enemies into Barney.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And I just thought that was the greatest thing ever.
Because you see what you know and it's changed.
Yeah. Well, and then I would call my little sisters into the room and they'd see me blow Barney up with a shotgun, and I'd be like, "Yeah,
you watch that again."
I had little sisters.
How many?
That's a big brother thing, I guess.
I don't know.
I have 3 little sisters.
Oh my goodness! You had to do something to retaliate. That seems like they could gang up on you.
Oh,
like
bro,
little
bro. On my dad's side of the family, who are all very close, and we spent a lot of time together. There were 9 girls born, then me, then 9 more girls.
What the fuck?
In a row. I have 2 boy cousins, but the oldest one is like 11 years younger than me.
Did the minute you see them, you were like, "Come here, quick! We must form some sort of plan."
Oh my god! Like 5 years ago, when all the cousins started getting married and stuff, I was like, "Finally! Like, it's evening up."
Yeah. Some more men are in the scene.
I mean,
Jeez.
even at my house, it's my mom and the 3 sisters, and me and my dad. It's like all we can do to keep up, man.
Go to the man caves. We got to do then.
Yeah,
drink some beer. Well, you should have blown. It's good that you blew Barney's head off because that was your only retaliation.
Yep. Well, they were little sisters. I had lots of retaliation. You know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I get the idea.
I mean, when you have 4 kids that young, we're all just fucking each other around all the time.
Yeah, you're trying to make it by.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. I only have one brother, and it was not as crazy. One more news story before we get to my surprise moment of the podcast, which I made up just now. Sony is going to test some new firmware, version 2.50, includes suspend mode, which means you can, instead of putting your PlayStation 4 to sleep in rest mode, where then it has to shut everything down, but it's still kind of connected to the internet, or it is, this would literally be able to suspend your game you're playing.
Like the Vita.
Is that what that does?
Yeah.
And then you can put it in rest mode, and it's in rest mode? But the game comes right back when you turn it back on.
Yeah.
Oh.
The Vita, you can constantly just basically, like, put it to sleep.
Uh-huh.
But it doesn't turn anything off, but it also uses almost no power.
That's
as long
great.
as you're not downloading anything. And when you pop it back open, like, everything's exactly the same.
Well, I guess they're going to try that with this update. The interesting thing is, though, they're going to roll it out to MVPs, selected PlayStation MVPs. I don't know how to become one of those. Do you know what that is?
I didn't know they had an MVP program, but I would like to be one.
I know. So if you're listening to this podcast, which you are probably not, but if someone who knows someone who listens to this podcast who works for Sony, hey, I'd love to be an MVP. I'll try out all your stuff for you. Yeah.
I thought I was already an MVP. Now that I know that there are some, I want to be one.
I know. What are we? MVG.
We're like the LVPs.
Oh, wait. I don't get it.
Like the least valuable players.
Got it. I think I like MVG. But you have to put your shoulder, you have to put your hand down and rest your head on your on your hand like this and say, I guess I'm just an MVG. It doesn't really work on audio. Anyways, they're going to start this up, and so if you're an MVP, you get to check out the suspend mode and a couple other little things and doohickeys on that program. So interesting that they're rolling out a firmware update, which is normally just for everybody, and they're trying it out with the MVPs.
It sounds like it could be particularly likely to have weird
broken
issues.
Things in it. Yeah. Hey, most valuable player, meaning you're just a guinea pig.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if there's one cardinal sin among gamers, it's telling them that they can do something with their system that won't like kill their save game, and then it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That would be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like a beta,
Sony
right?
might need to give everyone like a week of PlayStation Plus for free again.
Well, you know what made me so mad is they had that server thing go down, and I didn't have this PlayStation set up as my primary PlayStation, which I didn't even know was a thing. And because it wasn't, when the servers went down, I couldn't play my game. And like literally it was like I just got to the weekend, a long week, really needed to play then, and I couldn't. I wanted fucking
You should have come
Retribution.
over, man. I'm right across the Ballard Locks. You should have come over. We could
should've.
just play all the time.
Yeah. I guess we're going to, as you alluded to earlier.
Yeah.
We're going to play that. What's the game called? Kill Switch?
We need to play this
Helldivers.
Cards of Fate or whatever.
No, Helldivers.
We should play that too.
That's a one-player game, I told you, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
we'll play it together on the couch, Carlos. It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
you can watch. We can take turns.
I don't think I want to. Let's go to our special ending surprise section.
Oh, my God. It's a surprise.
We're surprised. This is, so you do the comedies.
Yes.
And I like to do comedies.
Yes.
So I thought I would do a special section called, hey, let's look at some URLs that talk about funny things in video games.
Okay.
Here are a list of 17 legitimately funny games. Here's my setup. And we have a couple different tabs open. I can go through a few of these. But funny and video game, kind of hard to do, right? Like, I feel like even some drama moments can maybe be easier. But, like, funny, it can be... I feel like it can go into slapstick and just ridiculous so easily.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, like... I feel like in the 90s, like, all the games had, like, comedy elements to them.
Yeah.
But now you never see that anymore. The only really good, funny game that I've played in forever was South Park Stick of Truth.
That's literally the first one on the list.
Oh!
He gets a point.
I guessed it.
You did.
It was really good, though. I
Yeah.
bought it, like, and I loved it.
And it was like, it talked about the industry and the games, and it was, an RPG, so it had what it was talking about in the game, too.
Yeah, it was a well-designed, although, like, kind of simple RPG. But the thing I loved about it is that it's basically playing that game is like watching an entire season of South Park that only exists in that game.
Yeah, and you're part of.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first one on this one list over on Games Radar. The second one was Portal, specifically Portal 2, which I do like better, actually. And Portal is a great example of being funny and not over the top, just kind of situational and in the background almost. Like, this is funny.
Totally. Yeah. Portal was just an awesome game, but I feel like the sense of humor is what really kind of put it over the top.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, some of the puzzles, you're like, oh, I get it. I got to figure this out and do this thing. But then you get that little quip or something, and you're like, oh, I really want to know what that next joke is going to be. That's what you do. You're actually just going to the next joke.
Totally.
You're like, what's this comedy record like? In that way. There's a bunch on this list. I won't go through all of them because my voice is literally giving out. But Psychonauts is on there. That's a great game. I didn't think it was funny. I don't know if I agree with that one. House of Dead Overkill. Katamari Damacy is a great game. Have you played that? Where you roll things up. That's... not really funny, but it's just like whimsical and weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I would call that funny. They put Grand Theft Auto 5 on that list. They're going to keep going.
I mean, 4 was funny. I didn't really feel like 5 was funnier than 4.
I don't think I liked 4 much, but that's besides the point. Was it funny? I don't know.
I mean, the Grand Theft Auto games have always had the kind of cheeky humor, especially in the radio stations.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the talk radio is always really funny
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think
and they always have like pun names for all the businesses. And
when the characters do stuff, though, sometimes it just feels like forced, and you're like, I get you're trying to be funny here, and that's the danger. Like, I can count on one hand how many times I've laughed like out loud at a video game. You know, I think there's it's a weird thing where I think the setting has to be right, really right, for me to feel comfortable. I'm like just talking this out right now, to feel comfortable enough to laugh at the situation. Because if I'm so vexed about what's going on, or like, you know, I'm trying to figure this puzzle out, don't tell me a joke. Shut up. I'm trying to figure this thing out. Or that is a boss, and I have to remember to go 1 punch, 2 punch, stun, and dive. And so I'm not thinking about it. So I think the setting has to be really special.
Yeah. And most of the time the gameplay ends up needing to be light.
Yeah.
Because then you're not as focused on the gameplay, because like South Park
right.
is a fun RPG in kind of the old school Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3 kind of way.
Yeah.
But like you almost never die in it. You just kind of like play.
Yeah, you just play. Yeah, you're not worried about that. I think another one where you're not worried about that, and is great, by the way, if anybody's not played it yet, you should play it. On Steam, Jazzpunk.
I do not know that game.
I'm going to make sure that it's on Steam because I would not want to say that it is not, but I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, of course it is. It's a 2D, it's a 3D, but like the world looks like it's in 2D, and it's just play it. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I want it to be a surprise to you. It's a comedic adventure game. That's all you need to know. And you need another beer. You can get it right now. Just
cool.
Do it while I say this next topic. So you should play that when you go home.
I want to.
Jazzpunk. Everybody go check it out. It's on Steam. It's amazing, and that's an example of a game that can be funny and pull it off again because the gameplay I feel like is so. You know, it's not like over the top. You're just hitting buttons and kind of looking things around. Whilst he gets out of the beer, I will go through two more of these other ones. One of them is Simpsons, and I think The Simpsons has a built-in reason why it can succeed because it's the fucking Simpsons. So you have, you know, the ones that are good. I mean, there's a lot of bad Simpsons video games, but the ones that are good can basically continue the comedy of The Simpsons. And it's just real easy to be funny, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it, most of the like genuinely funny games I've played have been because you're already familiar with the characters from somewhere else. I even think about like the old Monty Python PC games. Mm-hmm. You remember those?
Yeah, I do.
Or like the original Fallouts were pretty funny. The first two Fallouts were pretty funny, but in that same kind of like quirky Monty Python like nerd humor, you know, before nerd humor was even very sophisticated. It was just like, ooh,
that's how it all sounded like. Yeah. Blue.
Yeah, cheese. Oh, cheese. And
oh, my favorite one. Spam. My voice can't do it maybe. Hold on, let me see. Egg, sausage, and spam. Spam, 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 sausage and spam. Egg, sausage and spam. Eggs and spam. I can't do it. My voice.
I don't like spam.
That's it.
I don't like spam.
I don't. Well, we have sausage and spam. I can't remember. It's amazing. A couple other ones. They had... Yeah, see, I don't think the Saints Row games were funny. And I think at times they are, but they're that same thing where it's like, we're going to be funny right now. Check it out. Like, there's no... the setup is right there in front of you. Like, here is where I'm going to be funny. And did you laugh?
Yeah.
And like,
you know what games I love, like the random humor of, is the Far Cry, like Far Cry 3 and 4.
Yeah.
When you go into the inventory and you read the descriptions of everything.
Yeah.
All the descriptions are really funny, but then nothing else about those games is funny at all.
Yeah. It's like a little Easter egg of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really the key is that if it's just not an afterthought, but it's not in the foreground as much. You know, it's subtle is the word. Subtle.
Well, and you're always walking a tightrope because the gameplay in a good game like can't be funny.
Right.
Like when you're actually playing the game, like comedy relies on subverting expectations, and you have to be able to have your expectations be fulfilled when you're trying to control someone to win something.
Well, that's why it probably works in Portal, because you don't really know what's in the next side of that door.
That's
right?
true.
You're like, I get the idea, but it's probably going to switch on me. That's why it works in Portal.
Well, the other reason it works in Portal is that the gameplay itself is challenging but thin. So there's lots of opportunity to just kind of like soak in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere can always be funny, but that comedy can't interfere with the gameplay.
Yeah.
And Portal, because there's like the gameplay is very simple, you're able to really build on the comedy without it ever really messing with the gameplay.
Yeah. Actually, it's a perfect segue for my next one that's on this other list over on makeuseof.com is Octodad. Have you played Octodad?
No.
You are an octopus pretending to be a person, and you have to not alert anybody that you're an octopus when you're clearly an octopus. And you have to control yourself very clumsily with all your limbs.
Oh.
So you're like falling over, and you don't want to like drop the groceries, and it's really ridiculous. But that is, again, humor coming out of gameplay. So, like, it's already inherently ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know? And so then they're not trying for a joke all the time, although they do a couple of times. But, you know, it can come out of the movement of the guy. So I think that works.
Yeah.
So that's just a sum. What do you think your favorites are? Why don't you let us know on the comments of the podcast or on Twitter. At Video Game Break, let us know your favorite funny video games and which ones you think are funny.
You know what one I've played recently that is funny but in a very weird kind of way is The Binding of Isaac.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
it's weird, funny, and it has a purpose for why it's so weird and dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My fiance hates it when I play it because all
the maggots.
Well, it's just weird music and like piles of poop everywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's all she sees when I play that game is like really weird music.
Yeah.
And like piles of poop, and then every time you hit a monster with a bullet, it makes like a baby crying noise, and she just like can't handle it.
It's disconcerting.
It's just too weird. It's a very weird game.
Yeah. But I actually like the message behind it, and we should have a whole discussion postmortem on that game because it's brilliant. And what he's
I haven't really ever made it very far in it. I got it for free on PlayStation Plus and just like goofed around with it, and it was fun. But then I started playing Rogue Legacy, which has all the things I liked about Binding of Isaac, but without all the like
poop
weirdness. And poop.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story that and kind of ideals that he's trying to get across in that game. It's really interesting. I love when games do that where they can take stances or put out a message there in some way, but then also not have it be heavy-handed and just be kind of, oh, I get it,
Find a way to really advance video games as like an art form that can tell a unique story that couldn't be told in any other way.
And also a dual story. I think what's key there is that, the gameplay is like Legend of Zelda kind of and shooter, right? Mm-hmm. But then you are getting this other message about what it means to be weird and, the whole Christian thing as well, right? There's a bunch of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
But a game that did that for me, one of the early ones I can remember, at least on console, I should say, because I'm sure a ton of did it in PC, but is a Braid, because Braid, and I don't think this really gets talked about much, or maybe it does, but the gameplay was, Mario Brothers in the beginning, platformer, and then it got crazy with there's like backwards in time, then there's you make copies of yourself. And then the puzzle got really confusing and interesting, but that was still just the one part that existed separately from the story. And the story was told in these little books. You must have played it by now if you're listening to this podcast, but if you haven't, that's what happens. And the book and the stories did not match up like one-to-one to what you were doing in the game at all. Like a little bit, like you'd beat a level and it seemed like they had something to do with the level that you just beat in the book you just got to read afterwards. But it really was telling a separate story. And what was fun about that, it was that duality I was talking about. So you have, which not to get too heady, but which we're going to anyhow, quantum physics is that. So in quantum physics, which is everything we're made up of, duality exists where things can go forwards and backwards in time. Things can be solid and not solid. And it's just an interesting thing that we live with, and then we don't really see it manifest in our normal, Newtonian physics laws, because we just see things as like, that's a table, and that's a solid, and that's forward in time, and the past is the past. But in the reality, we're all made up of these things that actually do both at the same time, which is crazy. And so my segue or my whatever thing is that I think that games that can do that, it's almost like it pulls a rug up underneath us. It's like, hey, we're also doing this other thing over here, and you didn't know we were doing that. I think it's just fun to play around with that.
Yeah,
I went on a weird tangent with that.
No,
Some of it's the fever.
I love it when games just take you into like a weird place, like when you really fall into the world of a game. Like The Last of Us did that for me.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that like there's that world that you go into, but it's fun if a developer can put two things going on at the same time.
Yeah,
like almost like competing versions or visions of what that world and that thing means. So you're kind of getting, you're not just getting the one A to B.
Yeah.
You're getting A to B and you're getting 1 and 2.
I haven't actually played that game, but it sounds very similar to like many moons ago I went to film school, and it sounds very similar to like something like Rashomon, like translated to a video game where you have like multiple points of. Have you ever seen?
I don't know what this is.
Rashomon. Rashomon's like an old Akira Kurosawa Japanese movie, and the whole premise of it is that like the entire storyline of the movie is that this event happens and the police are like interrogating all these people about it, and the whole movie is the various people's accounts of what happened, and they all follow the same like general outline, but then like everything is different.
I've not seen this movie, and now I want to see it.
It's very good. It's almost one of those movies though that like it was so influential at its time, and everything you've seen that's been made in the last 60 years has like somehow been influenced by it, that sometimes watching the original like doesn't feel as impactful as it should.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel unique anymore because it's been done so many times. But it's great. It's just like every character recounting their story of what happened, and the movie, like, it's just a movie about how different people can perceive the same events in different ways.
Yeah.
And that there isn't ultimately really a way to tell what really happened when
right.
you're
It's
counting
relative
on people's accounts of what happened.
Yeah. Which actually, again, kind of goes back to science, because special theory of relativity.
Yeah.
Like, well, that thing is not really that fast, or appears to be slower, like it's what your situation is. So interesting.
It's the lens that you view everything through.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Never.
It literally has never happened.
Ever.
Well, there's just some of the games we thought were funny. Go check those out. Can't come back to that, really. Funny games. Things are funny in video games. It's hard to do that. And we'll play Jazz Punk. Go fucking play Jazz Punk. It's funny.
I do need to play Jazz Punk. It sounds funny.
You're going to fucking play it.
I mean, I like jazz. I like punk. I'm pretty much in.
Dude, you're already in. Let's wrap this puppy up, because my voice is gone. Dan, thanks so much for having a heart-to-heart.
Dude, thanks for having me. This was an awesome way to spend a Friday evening.
Yeah, and it's not even over. It's only 8:30. You can have more Friday evening yourself later.
I'm gonna go home and play video games.
Jazz Punk.
I might get this card game.
Oh, this card game it's like literally the whole podcast. It's been on pause or in suspend mode.
Yeah.
No, it isn't, because I'm not an MVP. But it's just sitting there like looking at it and going, I need to get this. It looks freaking incredible.
Well,
and it's fun.
Actually, I think Helldiver's probably finished downloading. So maybe when I go home, I'll play that.
Add me on the internets, or add me on the PlayStations, and I might do a multiplayer experience, which I don't normally do, but I might be willing to try.
Even just with me?
It might be weird, but yeah, maybe.
All right.
We'll see. Is that a 2-player co-op and that's it? Do you have to have multiple, like, 4 people?
It's 2 to 4.
2 to 4, okay.
And it's also, the main reason why I got it is because it has couch co-op.
Oh, I love that.
Which not that many games have anymore.
Yeah.
And,
one of my reasons, Diablo 3, I played the shit out of that so many times.
Yeah.
With the ex-girlfriend at the same time. You know, like, until 2:30 in the morning.
I live with my fiance, and we don't have a lot of games that we like to play together. But it looked like the kind of game that we could get into. Mainly the game that we always play together is Borderlands.
Oh, yeah. Similarity there. I think that's the reason I was, like, on the fence of getting it, Helldivers, is because I was like, well, I'm literally never home, and when I am, I'm working on projects, and I just don't have time to, like, invite someone over to sit on the couch with. But I love that gaming experience, but just haven't had the time.
Yeah.
But that's what the internet is for, so we'll try it. Everybody go check out Hand of Fate as well, because it's awesome. Is that what the fuck it's called?
Hand of Fate.
Hand of Fate. Yes, that's what it's called. I'm delirious. Dan, where can people find you on the internet? You're on the Twitter, right? Or do you just not use Twitter?
Not really.
Okay, we don't do that. Where else on the internet should people go and find your fantastic stuff?
Honestly, I don't really put much stuff out.
You're not on the internet?
I'm not. I'm like, mostly what I do all day is I'm either working or I'm doing stuff with my sketch troupe, but it's like all live. Oh, you can check out my sketch comedy troupe by navigating to www.buttholemassage.com.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Type it in your computer right now. Buttholemassage.com.
Now that is with 2 T's, correct?
2 T's.
Okay. And 1 O? Just kidding. Oh, wait. Oh, I do not do the mistake of not putting the direct URL in, and don't just put it in.
Oh,
Google.
no. Don't just Google butthole massage. That's a terrible idea.
Right. I don't know why. I mean, I actually didn't try to do that just now, but
if you go to buttholemassage.com, it will redirect to the Facebook page of my sketch comedy group.
It does do that. It does do that.
We are called Princess. We are 4 gentlemen who wear pink shirts and perform weird, wonderful sketch comedy.
I'm going to like your page right now, and you now have another like.
All right.
So check that out. By the way, I love the name Princess for comedy sketch troupe. Oh, my goodness.
We have a bunch of like... we got a bunch of... One of our favorite things about it is we were able to get on Amazon and get a bunch of like temporary tattoos of like little tiaras that say like Princess, and we always like hand them out at all of our shows.
Nice.
But yeah, we just do weird stuff. We do stuff that makes us laugh.
That's why you should be doing things. And butthole massage is brilliant, by the way. Not the act of it, but the .com.
Yeah,
forwarding to your Facebook
It was kind
page.
of like we had this sketch that everyone really liked that was based on butthole massages.
Oh, okay.
That we thought was very funny. So I bought the vanity URL, and then like right after that, we never performed that sketch again. And I don't know why. I guess we just decided that we didn't want to be typecast as like the butthole group.
Yeah. And now it lives on though.
Yeah.
In URL
But
format.
I still like to give out the URL just because I think it's funny that
it is. It works every time.
I personally went out on namecheap.com and paid money for buttholemassage.com.
Probably like a couple dollars at least.
Yeah, like $9.
Yeah, see? That's dedication.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for some like weird porn site to offer me a bunch of money for that URL.
You think they would have by now? That seems like a pretty good, for that type of thing, URL.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, you know what? We'll buy it. We'll sit on it for a little while, and then we'll bring in the big bucks. That's the only way you make big bucks as a sketch comedy troupe.
Is to buy URLs that sound like sexy things.
Parking on domains and extorting the people who deserve them.
We when they were launching the XXX domains, a lot of us in like the .com world, I was in San Francisco, we were going to be like, okay, here's how we're going to make it rich. We're going to buy pampers.xxx and then extort millions of dollars from them. But then they let all the companies go first. Like, it was like, you don't get to vote on them, or you don't get to buy them. So all the companies got to, like, basically buy up all their URLs first. So we're like, oh, no Pampers.xxx.
Oh, man.
Which sounds gross. Okay, anywhere else? That's it? Just there, buttholemassage.com? And anybody locally can come check us out when we do that thing, because we're definitely going to do that comedy thing. When is that? The mashup? It's
the mashup. It's April 24th to 26th.
So on the 26th is when they would come out to see us, right?
That is the show. Yeah. Yes.
If you want to be part of it, you could talk to us on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I do a lot is I work on staff with Sketchfest Seattle. We put on the Sketch Comedy Festival in September. We bring in groups from all over the country, and Canada sometimes too. So multiple countries. We're international. And we also, every weekend in May is Sketch Comedy Month. So every weekend in May, there's going to be a ton of cool local sketch comedy going on at the Pocket Theater in Greenwood.
That's what I was going to say. Pocket Theater. Yeah.
So check out sketchfest.org for more info.
All right. And I'll put that in the show notes. That's cool. And I want to, we'll touch base on that when more of that stuff happens. Because I like the comedies. That's going to do it. I'm Onawa, O-N-A-W-A on Twitter. Our Video Game Break Twitter is just at Video Game Break. We have a Facebook page, too. It's not a redirect from Butthole Massage or something like that. But now I'm thinking I might need to.
Yeah, dude.
Something else,
you
massage.
You got to get a cool URL redirect.
I want to do that. I'm going to do that. Right now, currently, it's facebook.com/videogamebreak. That's it.
I recommend.
Yeah, can you give me a recommendation?
I recommend Carlos.
You recommend?
I recommend carlosbobarlos.com.
But then it's just my name.
That's what I would want.
I like it, but it's just my name. Then give me something with video games. Think about that. Think about that while I do these last things.
All right.
We have a YouTube channel. It's actually my old YouTube channel that I've converted because it was a partner program channel, and I wanted to make sure it was all video games. So it's youtube.com/minilife. It was an old URL that I had a million years ago, but it's all Video Game Break stuff. So go check that out. Subscribe, please. We have lots of fun stuff happening every week, including the Video Game Break show, which I'm back doing. They go up on Monday along with this podcast. And in that show, I will be talking about a couple new games that I'm playing on. Not working on. I played through some of that Endless Forest that we talked about, which is ridiculous. And I also played this really old game called Magus. And it's basically Dragon Age Inquisition, which is crazy. And you need to watch the episode to find out about that. Those are my pimping stuff. What is my URL redirect that has to do with video games and is also kind of kinky and sexual, probably, or anything?
Wow, you just threw me for a loop.
Oh, I thought because we were doing butthole massage, I thought that was where we started. So that's okay. Yeah, what did you have?
I guess I should have been thinking about that.
What did you have instead? Though? I'll take it.
I was thinking just to mess with people's heads. You should do it videogamebreak.com, but like BRAKE.
That's what you came up with?
That's what I came up with.
That is not an acceptable answer. And we're not going to leave this podcast until we have one more correct answer. That is not. That is.
Okay, fine.
We'll both do it. It has to do with video games, but it's ridiculous. That's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be sexual. But if it was, it probably wouldn't hurt. So I'm going to think too. We could put the Jeopardy music on.
Yeah.
Okay, so video.
Nintendo.
Not bad. We're getting closer. Video game. Wow, it is tough because you want to be like ridiculous, but
yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Video game. Well, you could do things like. Oh, I know. It could be controversial, like Sony sucks, right, or something like that, right? You could just do like straight up. I could do the TurboGrafx is the best because I love TurboGrafx. TurboGrafx is the best.com.
You just become like the champion of this like defunct.
Watch your mouth. It's my favorite system in the world. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
It can be. You can love it as much as you want. But that won't
yeah.
change the fact that it's defunct.
Yeah, It's
I
hard
didn't
to find.
I didn't mean that as
No.
like an insult. That's just a fact.
It is hard. Yes, it's not. It's no longer with us. Like like a dead relative. TurboGrafx is the best. Let's do a really like mean one against another company.
Ooh, like
who do we not like?
Like fuck EA.com.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe not that one. Oh yeah, where's Zynga now?
Suck it, Ubisoft.
Then it's just exclamative like to then insert company name.
Yeah.
Oh, how about better than Steam? Oh, that's fucking fighting words.
Dude, that is fight. I don't know how you're going to back that up. But
how about SteamIsOverrated.com? I'm just trying to think of the worst things I could say.
Dude, I mean,
Steam's
any publicity is good publicity.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, okay, then, okay, if we're talking about stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay. I'm into it.
Yeah, so now we're going to do, like, Nintendo blows. Oh, wait, no. It's got to be smarter than that. Like, a smart remark. You know, a negative.
Honestly, I can't think of anything that would make, like, certain parts of the gamer community rage worse than Steam is overrated.
Steam is overrated. I think we got it.
I think
we got it.
I really like that.
I won't do that, but anyways, that was a fun little adventure.
The only one I can think that might be better is like something that could like up Xbox One and put down PS4 at the same time.
I mean, you could do it either way there, but yeah. I mean, like, by the way, I was going to say this earlier because we both play PlayStation 4 right now. It's just fucking killing it, man. It is killing it because I go on there, and we'll leave that segment because that's dead anyhow. I go on there, like, you know, I get this Hand of Fate game. It's on Steam, but it's also on my fucking PlayStation 4. That's not something that's lost on me. You know what I mean? It's not lost on me that they were smart enough to get that license to bring it over to this as well, to PSN. Because now I'm playing on my couch with my controller, and it's on my very nice TV, right? So I just go through the indie section, and I find things all the time.
I feel like PlayStation and Vita have done a great job at cultivating just a really solid...
No, you didn't do that on purpose, that one.
A really solid like indie presence, and yeah, they're constantly getting good games.
They get good games. They get the ones that, you know, you want to play on Steam, you know, and then they have their own unique titles too. So I just love it. I think they're killing it. Anywho, that's a wrap. Dan, thanks for being here. We will talk soon in comedy ways and maybe in Helldiver ways.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, no problem. And with that, I have no catchphrase. Do you have one?
Steam is overrated.com.
By the way, we don't think that because I love Steam and it's fucking amazing.